Yo, how you doing, mate?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
I am very well. I was panicking I was going to be late because I've just spilled coffee all over my desk.
Oh no.
Yeah, absolute nightmare. Like I put my coffee down and it's gone all over my passport, all over my
Oh,
dirhams for Dubai. Like I'm currently kind of trying to dry my passport like this. Yeah, all good.
is the laptop safe?
Thankfully, yes. Thankfully, I have genuinely spilled a pint of water on my laptop around about this time last year, so gave me a little bit
Oh,
of PTSD.
what a warrior this laptop is.
I know. It's been through it. It really has. Um, I probably shouldn't put any liquids near my laptop, so I'm going to kind of move this over here. Uh,
Yeah, maybe that could have been a lesson.
yeah, exactly that. And also, I want to apologize for how rough I look. I do this thing. If I'm going away somewhere, I make myself rough until the day before, and then I kind of have a haircut and a shave. So I'm kind of doing that. Um, anyway, how are you guys this morning? How's life? How's things? How's business?
Good.
Henry, mate, looks like you've got off to an absolute flying start.
Yeah. Yeah, things are going well, man.
Good.
Uh, just back into another week of it, innit?
Yeah, totally that, man. Totally that. You know, the sun is shining. I think that one thing I will definitely say, and I've said this to a few coaches in like check-ins and stuff like that, is May is always like a big change month. What I mean by big change month is a lot of coaches will find that in May, you may experience a lot of churn, but with that churn comes like new faces and then people who have kind of achieved their goal kind of dropping back. So
Yeah.
one thing I actually did want to cover today, there's actually segues quite nicely into what I was going to talk about. Um, just for those of you who are like on mute or don't want to like shout out or whatever, could you just type a one in the chat if you have watched the video I sent on Friday? I do appreciate I sent it kind of late, but if you have watched it, amazing. If you haven't, I know it is a little bit long. Please go watch that video. Basically, I break down like a few things. I was a little bit blunt in it, to be fair, kind of talking about shouting out certain things, you know, with Gavin and things like that. I definitely want you guys to utilize Gavin. Like Gavin even messaged me and was like, clients aren't asking me many questions, and I'm like, we need to make sure we're utilizing him. One thing I realized that we made a mistake of. I think the reason he's not being utilized as much as what he could be is because obviously you message us on WhatsApp and then you message him in school. So it's like a different place to talk to someone. So maybe we could look at that. In fact, you know what? See, I always do this. I come up with ideas mid conversation. I'm going to write that down because I think that would make the most sense. Okay, so if you've not watched, if you're watching this live or back, the video that I sent on Friday, please go watch it because it kind of breaks down quite a few different things. Okay, cool. Now, the thing I wanted to talk about next week, this call will be changing. So for those of you who haven't watched, I'll give you a quick breakdown. What we've noticed in the Q&A calls is where you guys have got access to us, there aren't that many questions on these calls, which is fine, but it's almost like we've already solved the problem by the time you've got here. So what we're going to do instead is almost like change it into more reviewing stuff. Now, something that I would love to start to do is basically just reviewing your work. So reviewing your content, reviewing any calls you're doing, reviewing check-ins, anything that you feel needs reviewing, you'll bring it to the call and we'll review it with you. Our job is to make sure that you know before the call what's being reviewed. So one of Alice's jobs on a Friday is with her weekly update. I'm not sure if you guys read them in school, but with her weekly update, she'll also say, and by the way, next week's calls are this, etc., etc., etc. Would that be helpful? So obviously you can obviously come prepared and stuff like that. Cool. Because I know back in the day we did used to review check-ins, and on CEO calls we tend to review sales calls more on CEO because they're getting more calls because you know someone will join CEO and they're already working with 50 clients. So when your business is there, you're just booking in more calls anyway. So yeah, we will certainly do that. Okay, so who here watches the news? I won't lie, I don't really watch it. But do you guys watch the news? Not really. Okay. Something that's popped up recently is that it's either Slimming World or Weight Watchers. It's kind of annoying that I can't remember which one it is. But either Slimming World or Weight Watchers, their business has massively declined this year, like hugely. It's literally fallen off of a cliff edge. Don't know if you guys have noticed that, but it's like the popularity is dropping. I think I know why that is, and you guys have got an opportunity here. I think the reason that I think that it's dropping off, one, because I feel like people are genuinely becoming more educated, which is a win for coaches. But secondly, I genuinely think a lot more people are going, okay, well, what about these weight loss jabs? Why don't I just use those? I don't know if you guys have had any conversations in DMs with people mentioning that. I went to a barbecue on, this is why I'm bringing this up. I went to a barbecue on Saturday. As soon as I tell people about what I do, there were 30 people at the barbecue. Of the 30 people, 2 people came out and told me that they're using the weight loss jabs. I was like, that's mad. That, what? My maths is terrible. 8% of the barbecue were on it. And I did, do you know what I mean? I was like, that's actually that's pretty nuts. Anyway, not a judgmental person. I was like, okay, fair. My point is, why is that becoming so popular? The reason it's becoming so popular is because it seems like the offer is clearer and simpler. So I'd write that down. How can I make my offer clearer and simpler? I spoke on one of these Q&A calls 2 weeks ago about why Slimming World is successful. Slimming World is successful is because it's literally called Slimming World. You apply to Slimming World because you want to get slim. World. You get Ozempic or you get Mounjaro or whatever because you think, oh, well, if I just jab this thing in my fucking ass, then I'm going to get lean, right? So my point is, what I would love for you guys to do this week is, number one, look at how clear your offer is. How clear is it on my Instagram what I actually do? Number one. Number two, and this is the real kicker, this will make a massive difference in your business. I want you to do some research with your clients. I want you to ask them a very simple question. And that question is this: what was it? What piece of content? What message? What was it about my Instagram or about my page or about what I put out? What was the kicker for you to book the call? Why did you book the call? What was like the final piece that enabled you to book that call? Because I'm telling you now, guys, if you start tracking this, your content will improve, your launches will improve, your offer will improve, everything will feel easier. You're playing business on easy mode. And something that we've realized ourselves, right? So, we've got some OGs on here that have been clients for quite some time. And you guys will know, I've actually said this on calls. In 2023, I was like, I don't know if I want to share people's earnings. I said that on a call. I was like, I don't know if I want to share people's earnings. I don't want to make it all about money. I want to make it about more than that. However, once we started tracking, what was it that made you book the call? Honestly, 80% of the time, it was, I saw this person earning this and I want to earn that. So we had to go, okay, fair. We had to listen to our audience more. Instead of saying, no, this is what I want, this is what I think's best, this is what I think that they need or that they want, they actually wanted something that I was like, almost like holding back from them. And as soon as we go, actually, these guys are earning a lot more money, people go, oh shit, I want to do that. Okay. And I think that a lot of us as coaches, whether we're more into helping our clients get strong, or we're more in body transformation, whether we're into bodybuilding or we're into CrossFit, we often hold back the thing that our audience truly want in fear of being judged. That's why the book on the right-hand side of me, The Courage to be Disliked, is probably one of the best books I've ever read. Because since I've read that book, my content's changed. I'm being a lot more bold with what I'm talking about. I'm happy to be a bit more, I guess, upfront about particular things. Does that make sense, guys? Now, another thing I want you to think about is, and this one may catch some of you guys out, but I'll expand on it. Every niche has a spokesperson. And what I mean by a spokesperson is, if I think of powerlifting, who do I think of? If I think of bodybuilding, who do I think of? If I think of nutrition, who do I think of? If I think of training performance or mindset or motivation or resilience, all these different things. If I think of your niche, who comes to mind? Now, the reason I mention this is because that's the spokesperson for that niche. And I was having a conversation with a client, he's not on here at the moment, but I was having a conversation with a client the other day about this. And this client is a guy and he exclusively coaches women. So I'm like, okay, cool. If that's the case, because technically you're not the spokesperson, you need to make sure, even more so, that you really know your shit. That you can really break down individually, specifically, and like with telling stories, exactly how you can help women. Back it up with science, back it up with results, back it up with proof. And then what I would do one step further, which sounds like overkill, but it genuinely works, is if you are a guy exclusively coaching women, you need to have women in your reels. Whether it be your clients, whether it be a partner. I actually know coaches, genuinely, that hire actors to stand in their reels with them, which I know sounds crazy, but it just lands. The best example of that, some of you may know Nathan Johnson. Nathan Johnson coaches the South Asian niche. He's brilliant at it because the reason he's so good at that is because he is great at coaching people that aren't going to use a meal plan or MyFitnessPal, which a lot of people will go to those two. He doesn't do either of those. He goes straight to kind of like habits. Anyway, he hired a South Asian woman so that he's got the male voice, the female voice. Obviously, he's not South Asian. She is South Asian, so it just everything performs a lot better. Okay. Now, the next thing I want you to think about is where we were talking just now about the content that got the person to actually jump on the call with you. Those of you who have got a book where you track all of your consult calls in fact, raise a hand. Who tracks all of their consult calls, like in a book, like you'll write notes down. Start doing that. I promise you, where's mine? Mine's always within reach and distance. This is mine here. It shouldn't be like a bad thing or an embarrassing thing, but I think everyone on this call is in this book. This helps me create my content. This is basically my content book. Because if I'm on a call with someone and they're telling me what they're struggling with, right, that's my content for the week. I've had, for example, a couple of weeks ago, I had like 3 calls in a week. And all I had to do is go back through my call book and say like, right, they were struggling with their coaching knowledge. They were struggling with breaking away from their 9 to 5. They felt like they wanted more holidays, so that's what my content was centered around. Ultimately, the same thing will be happening in DMs. If you've got someone who's currently sat in the DMs, who's sat on the fence, don't be afraid of putting out a piece of content directed at that particular person. Now, sorry guys, I've got really dry throat today. I think I've got hay fever. Feel free to drop questions in the chat while I'm trying not to die from pollen. But my point is, I can guarantee if you were to actually start tracking from the call and ask the question, what was the piece of content that got you to book the call? It's probably not air fry recipes or overnight oat recipes. It's probably not that. They get you lots of likes, they get you lots of engagement, they get you lots of views and stuff like that, which is great. But I think that a lot of coaches focus so much on engagement, comments, views, all this kind of stuff, that they forget the thing that actually gets people over the line. And oftentimes the thing that gets people over the line is going to be some of your least engaging content. We had a client back in the day, Cameron, who constantly, I'm not getting enough likes. And I check his post and he's getting 30, 35, 40, 25, 30, 35. I'm like, dude, you get more likes than I am. He was like, well, why are they not converting then? I said, the reason they're not converting is because none of these are touching on any pain points or any desires. They're 2 metrics you want to consider. Now, I'm not saying being an arsehole and just like bully your audience because you're just going to make people feel like shit. But what I am saying is that you should at least be aware of the struggle and aware of the desire and tackle it in your content. Okay? If you're not... Tom, I really like how your camera moves with you, bro. That's quite cool. I need to get one of those.
It's so annoying. I hate it. I don't know how to turn it off.
Oh, really?
It's the new Mac. It just moves everywhere.
Oh, okay.
So if it's distracting, I'll try and figure it out.
Bro, it's not distracting at all. I actually quite like it. But that's
Okay.
that's because I have ADHD, so I pick up on this stuff. But anyway, that's cool. What was I saying? Yeah, so essentially, don't be afraid to actually go through that content and review. Like, right, what piece of content was I posting that actually got people across the line, so to speak? Now, something that we've noticed, one of the highest ROI pieces of content that we create is genuinely collaborations, because a collaboration is an instant buy-in of trust. And this is why I would really, really, really advise you guys, when you're writing your client transformations or uploading a client testimonial, always think to yourself, how would my client feel if this write-up was on their page? The reason you should do that is you should write it in a way that's just going to hype them up like crazy, which you should all be doing anyway. Then send it to them before and say, I just want to congratulate you on how well you've done. I was going to ask, would you be cool if I collabed with this on your page? I totally get it if not, but I wanted to ask first things first because I think this is, an amazing, amazing post. You could inspire a hell of a lot of people. And plus, as I'm sure you're aware, and if you're not, then reminder, you get kickbacks for anyone who joins through you, like through any referrals. That's what I would be doing. A good example of that is, some of you know who Jack Eats is. He does food eating challenges and stuff. Awesome guy. I'd recommend connecting with him. We coach him at the moment. And we collabed with one post with Jack. Basically, he went all in online within a couple of months, which was incredible. He's now moved to Bali. And instantly, people that we'd never spoken to before were inquiring because they really trust Jack. And if they trust Jack, and then suddenly we're on Jack's page, it's like, oh well, if I trust Jack, then I trust George. Right, let's have a conversation. So definitely make sure that you are doing that. Right, let's have a look. Ooh, good question. I would post more story-based content. I think story-based content is the best way to build trust, in my opinion. And it's funny because it's the old thing of like you put an hour into a post and it gets 10 likes, and you're like, oh. And you put 2 minutes into a post and it gets 100, and you're like, what the fuck? We've done this again and again and again and again and again, and I don't want it to be true, but it is. Really raw, like almost looking borderline poorly edited carousels always perform so much better. I don't know why that is. Like, let me give you an example, right? Let me show you exactly what I'm talking about. So if I did, let's get rid of that. Like this one, right? So I've lied to quite a few people the last month, and I need to own up. Now, the reason that performs so well is because it's got quite a big hook on it. I look like I'm in shame. It's quite a fucking bold headline. But all that I've done is I went to my Instagram stories. I wrote that in a white box, which looks a bit rough, but it's obviously really easy to read. And then people can just spam through that and read it pretty, there's not too much text on each page. But all that I've done is I've just used like a decent photo in the background, kept the color scheme relatively the same the whole way through, and made sure that there's not too much text on every single thing. And what this does, again, like, a lot of kind of engagement from this and quite a few likes. And I'm not doing this for clout. I'm not doing this to be like, oh, let's get as many likes as possible. But ultimately, our kind of main focus right now is you guys. You're our main focus, and you always will be. But my point is, we're not trying to like get loads of clients. We're genuinely not. In fact, if we didn't inquire for next week, cool, that's fine. I'm moving to Dubai. I don't want to be like trying to, oh yeah, let's get lots of clients in, because that's not why we run this business. So anyway, the reason why the timing of this is done at this time is because all I'm looking to do at the moment is storytell, really. That's storytelling, this is storytelling, that's, well, to be fair, I was helping people earn money there. This is storytelling, that's storytelling, this is storytelling, that's storytelling. Like, you'll notice that I'm really, really, really using a lot more storytelling content, and that's why my likes are so high. Likes don't equal clients. However, what I will say, one thing that likes typically do is they allow you to build a little bit more relationship with somebody. Because if someone's like actually physically engaging with your stuff, it's far easier to open the conversation. So yeah, to answer your question, if you want to build more trust online, you need to be sharing a lot more of your story and making it easy to digest for somebody. And I think that if I could go back, I would have just documented more stuff. I would have documented more of my preps, more of my gaining phases, more of my training. I would have documented more of what it looks like to run my business. In fact, I think that's one thing that I picked up on relatively quickly that I regretted, and I fixed that pretty quick. Like, it would take you forever, but if you wanted to check out my old content, it weren't amazing, but I'd say in 2021, 2022, I started talking a lot more about my journey, and that's when my business really started to take off, because people could just resonate so much harder. And typically what would happen is that someone would jump on a call with me, and they're on the call because they can resonate with me. That's typically why your clients will be on a call with you. And it's why a lot of coaches don't want to admit it, but if we're honest with ourselves, someone books on a call with you because, well, they really fucking like you, and they trust you, and they want to work with you, and they think that you're going to lead them to where they want to get to, which is why I've always believed this. I really don't think you have to be in a certain shape to get clients. Like, I really don't think that that's the case, but you should lead your niche. You should absolutely lead your niche. If you're a bodybuilder, show how good of a bodybuilder you are. If you're a body transformation coach, show that you've done it as well. If you're a nutritionist, show how fucking great your nutrition knowledge is. You have to lead your niche. If you don't lead your niche, then people are dying to be led. They're absolutely dying to be led. But yeah, that's my 2 cents on that. Cool. All right, guys. So just want to make sure that you've all written down that question. In terms of the homework, I would start with 10 clients, last 10 clients who have come on board, and just simply ask them, what was the piece of content that made you book a call? That's it. What was the piece of content that made you book a call? Bonus points, if you want to really get nerdy with your research, ask all your clients who they follow on social media, like fitness wise. Because if you ask them what kind of fitness accounts they follow, you'll get a good gauge of the kind of content that they like. And if you know the content that they like, you can review that content and then you can put your own spin on it and make it even better. One thing I will say on that, which may surprise you guys, because I know that we do talk about trends on here, I would try not to get too carried away with trends. Reason being is that a trend is a trend when thousands of coaches are doing the same thing. And what can start to happen is that if thousands of coaches are doing the same thing, it can start to dilute your message a little bit. So a good example would be there was a point when everyone felt the need to eat food off of a chopping board, or there was a point where everyone felt the need to include cottage cheese in their fat loss thing, or there was a point where everyone felt the need to do CrossFit. Sorry if you do CrossFit, but like I think a lot of people will jump on a particular trend, they will run it for like a few months, and then they'll drop back off again. Like I would really, really, really implore you to just be fucking different. Just be fucking different and be bold about it. There's a reason why there are some coaches out there and some content creators perform so well. Great example of that. Jack Manchester, Jack Teats is his Instagram. I can't think of another piece of content that's like his. He just doesn't care. And that's why it lands so well, because he just does not care about upsetting people. He just puts out what he finds funny, and then other people find it funny. Okay? The way I like to explain it to Alice and Matt is just not to put rubber armbands on your personality, because people will see straight through that. Sweet. Okay, guys, that's my ramble. Does anyone have any questions for me?
I found something this week that could be interesting for us.
Okay, awesome.
I don't know if I'm behind the trend on this. Did you know that you can link Klarna to your Stripe now?
Yes, mate. Yeah. To be fair, I had a client ask me about this the other day. That is pretty cool and pretty helpful, because obviously then you can spread payments a way that makes sense for the person, right?
Yeah, I tried to get someone on it, but didn't go for it. He went for the monthly instead. But you can like split a 6-month payment in three. And it's interest free as well, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. So that is yeah. I'll tell you what. Has anyone else on this call, like, has anyone else tried Klarna through Stripe? Because that's a great point, Henry. I think that it's good for good way of kind of getting someone onboarded and I guess locked in for that period of time. Because if there's one thing that makes me feel sad is when a coach is like, oh, I have a client that joins and they only stay like 2-3 months. Now, I'm not saying just rely on Stripe to keep them. That's where your delivery comes in. However, I do think that that's a very, very worthwhile thing to look into for sure, mate. So, did you say you've run any clients through that yet?
No, I was out with one of my clients for food the other day, and she's a coach, and she said she's been rinsing it for like 6 months up front. And she said the conversion on it's great because people can just pay it in their own way.
Okay, that's nice. I do like that. Yeah. What I'd say, right, is I was talking to, do you know who Connor Colton is? Like another mentor.
No.
Okay, fair. It's based in Dubai, actually. I was talking to him about this about a year ago, and it's actually on my YouTube. It's quite a long video, but it's all included in there. And he was asking my opinion on upfronts or monthly, and I kind of said like it does depend. And what I mean by it does depend is, let's say if a coach came to me and they just done 5 upfront payments in a row, I you would then come around to them and say, okay, I'm not against you now if you wanted to, because you've just taken lots of upfronts, only offering monthly for a period of time. Only because I've seen coaches who have worked with other mentorships be like, only do 9 months, only do 12 months, whatever, up front, which is great to start with. But then 1 month you have a bad month and you go like, we're working with someone at the moment who went from a 22K month to a 0K month from month to month because of what he was advised to do. And it just gave him massive anxiety. So anyway, so I was kind of explaining this to Connor, and then he gave me a nugget and I was like, this is great. And I don't think many coaches use this, but something that you can try if you want to, is that you would almost have a standard way of taking payment whereby the first 3 months is a higher price point. So it's almost like an upfront for the first 3 months. And then it automatically from Stripes drops into significantly lower. So a good example of that would be, I mean, my maths is terrible, but let's just say you would turn around to someone and say, right, for the first 12 weeks, the way that it works is that it's, I don't know, 700 for the first 12 weeks and that thing and all. And then after that 12 weeks, you're going to drop down into 150 a month. So that if someone was to stay for like 9 months, which is like the average, you'd get the same amount that you would have got anyway, but you basically have it higher on the front end to get that buy-in from that client, and then lower on the back end, so that they're like, oh, okay, great. So actually, if I stay on for longer, I save more money from doing so.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So yeah, that is another way that you can do things. We haven't started doing that ourselves, but you may have seen on my page, some of you guys, that we are literally going to be shutting up shop for a period of time. When we do open things back up again, I'm probably going to do that just because I'm not against them. I'm not massive on contracts. I get why people do contracts and agreements. I'm just not massive on them. So that's almost our way of saying like, look, we're going to need you to commit to this, and then once you're committed to this, great. You know, we know that you've got your buy into the process. You're then going to save on the long run. But realistically, it means that everyone's actually going to end up kind of paying the same. Although complete transparency, if you do have anyone in mind that you feel like would be a good fit, we are going to be more expensive in summer. So if you are looking to refer someone and you would like them to save money, we are going to be more expensive in like about a month or so. So just thought I'd give you guys a heads up on that one. Not for you guys, by the way, for those guys, because I want to look after you guys. Sick. All right, cheers, that mate. Cool. Does anyone else have any other? It doesn't have to be content related. It could be literally anything at all, or even like any insights or anything you've been doing that's been working well.
I just actually wanted to ask, because obviously I've been working towards transitioning from just doing both in the gym and online to just fully go online. And I wanted to know what was this transition like to people, if you guys are fully online, because I feel like what's stopping me right now as well is the scare of going back on myself first to then build back up, financially speaking. And I keep in my mind, I keep saying to myself, okay, when I get to X or when I get to, this number, that number, I will have enough security to then do the full transition. But it seems like if I don't nourish my online business and if I don't put in the work and the hours in there, I won't get to X, Y, and Z. So I just wanted to know from everyone's perspective, like what was that like, or what's the process like to you?
It's a great question. Who wants to kick us off? Because what I'll do is I'll go after someone else goes because I'd love to hear a few different viewpoints on this.
I'll give some on it.
Sure, man.
I didn't start on gym floor. I went from working as an electrician to full time. So I saved up a couple of months' money that I knew I needed to live on as like a baseline, and then left my full time job. But at the time, I was only earning 500 a month from online. I think it's scary to leave, but you buy yourself back so much time that you can put into the business that the month that I left, the rate of progression of the business was the most it could be just because of the time allowance I had. Otherwise, you're just working around another job. I think just go for it. I don't know what you think, George, but it's always going to feel scary whenever you do it, isn't it?
Oh, mate, 100%. Like, literally, it's so funny that this has been today because I was genuinely going to come on today and talk about my personal journey of doing exactly this, but I changed my mind at the last minute because I thought that the marketing thing would be important. But yeah, honestly, like, how's the best way that I can describe what the transition looked like? So for me, how do I put this? This is not going to sound sexy, but this is literally exactly what happened. I remember waking up the first day that I was like fully online and I was only coaching online, coaching clients. My income had dropped a fair whack because I think that I had like a fair few PT clients that just didn't want to go online and that was fine, but I had a few transition. But off the top of my head, I think I was earning about, just from online, about 2 grand, which I was like, okay, sweet, I've got a base. However, I knew I had about 30 days to earn more because of like, rent and food and just life. So I remember waking up and I went downstairs and I made myself breakfast and I sat on the sofa and I just sat there and I was like, well, now what the fuck do I do? And I remember I went back up to bed and I laid in bed for a minute and then I went into my DMs and I just started conversations with people. And anyone on here that's got ADHD, you'll know that once you get hyper focus on something, you can lose track of time. Before I knew it, it was 11 a.m. and I booked in 3 calls. And I remember I came back downstairs again because I usually go gym at about 11, half 11. And I was like, fuck. I honestly felt like I'd like found the answer to life. And what I mean by I'd found the answer to life was I was like, oh my God, if I actually put attention into things that generate income into a business and I actually, pour hours into that, I can work with so many people because I'd already had like a shit ton of results on my page, a shit ton of like education and value. You know, I'd built up like a decent following. People like knew who I was and stuff like that. And I just thought to myself, like, I wasn't going in sending scripts. I wasn't going in trying to sell anyone. I wasn't going in trying to like immediately get someone onto a call. I just thought to myself, how can I literally chat to as many people as I possibly can? And I didn't put a time limit on it. And I think within the first month, I want to say that my income jumped by around about an extra £1,000, which basically almost brought back exactly where I was at. So in terms of what the transition was like, yes, it was scary. It was overwhelming. It was weird because I almost didn't know what to do with myself because I had so much free time. But that's where, you know, when I don't know if you guys have ever heard me talking about like revenue generating activities. I may have mentioned that on a call in the past. And basically, the whole thing of that is that 80% of your results will come from 20% of the things that you do, genuinely. Like they really, really will. So in terms of making the leap, I completely agree with Henry. Like Henry, you won't ever feel ready. Like you genuinely won't. I think that a wise thing to do is to have savings. A wise thing to do is to have like a decent base of online clients, and a wise thing to do is to try and plan out exactly what it's going to look like for you to continue to gain business and continue to gain clients. But in terms of a perspective of someone who was full on the gym floor to quitting that and going all in online, I did have some backlash from some of the PTs because they were like, "Why would you want to do that? You know, you've got a great business here." Like, "Oh, it doesn't work." Um, I wouldn't go as far to say that I had a point to prove because I didn't really feel like that. I felt more so, that I had to make it work, and that whether this is a bad mindset to have, I felt if it didn't work, it would be embarrassing. And this is an egotistical thing to say, but as a guy, I didn't want to be embarrassed. Didn't want to have to go back in the gym and be like, "Hey guys, I fucked up." So I was just like, all right, I was just gonna have to fucking work. It's as simple as that. And all that I did was I was like really, really strict with, right, George, don't waste your time on social media. Actually make offers, actually post things on your story that are going to get engagement. So I was like hammering polls, hammering Q&As, posting so many results. Like if I posted someone's like front shot, 1 month later, it was their back shot with a completely different write-up. You know, if I was getting a good check-in from a client, I was screen recording that check-in that I was delivering to them. And then after that, the feedback that they gave me and sharing that. And I was just relentless. Like I'd be, don't do this, it's not safe. I'd be taking my phone off of Bluetooth in the car driving to the gym, 'cause it's half an hour away, and voice noting potential leads. I was in the gym in between sets, messaging people. I was completing a set and give myself 1.5 minutes and be like, how many people can I message in 1.5 minutes? And I was like a man obsessed. And then within the space of about 6 months, I think I'd gone from 2K per month to about 6K per month, just because I was fucking relentless and I was like, right, this has to work. And then I got to that point, and then that's when I started to realize, and I guess this is when I got a bit more of like a bit more business savvy, is that the thing that was going to continue to grow my business was systems and not just hard work and hard work alone. Because I'd be lying if I said that it's not hard work to grow a business, but once you've got to a point where you've got leverage, and I talk about leverage all the time, leverage for most coaches is 5K, in my opinion. I think 5K is a great number to get to, because once you get there, not to say it's like this magic thing and your life's solved, but once you get there, I think it's easier to continue to grow because you've got so many results and so many testimonials and so much social proof and so much backing of a great base. It's just easier to continue to grow from that point if you are disciplined with doing the things that you know that you need to do. Yeah, was that helpful?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. It's good to have like some encouragement and also know that people have been through the same kind of mindset of like, oh my God, what happens now? But I guess like Henry was saying, every big change is scary as well. And you know, if you all the big changes that happen in life, it's like if we didn't go through this scary bit, then we would have stayed where we were. So yeah, that was really helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome. I will just end on something real quick in case anyone, you know what, it would be great if anyone else can jump in who's been in that boat. People who like know me really, really well, like, I mean, I wear my heart on my sleeve, right? But one thing I've always been good at not doing, whether this is a good thing or a bad thing, is I'm not a crier. I get upset, but I'm not a crier. Mate, the last week I've cried 5 times about moving to Dubai. Like I keep fucking crying. I'm like, why the fuck am I crying? I woke up in the morning the other day crying because I'm like, oh my God, I'm not going to be able to visit my mum. And it's just because it's change. Like it's fucking scary. Like the fact that I'm moving to Dubai, everyone's like, oh, you must be so excited. Wow, it's incredible. Like I literally, this time tomorrow, I'll be on the flight and I just keep getting upset about it. And I'm like, why am I getting upset? Like I should be so excited. There's like all these amazing things and all this incredible stuff. But it's like, it's normalizing that, you know, change is scary. And when you're used to, you know, the same gym and the same golf course and the same walk and seeing the same people and being around the same environment, it's the same thing with like with moving because it's going to feel like you're moving career. You're not, but you know, going from that security to right now it's fucking, you know, it's go time. But I think the reason for that is because our, I don't know if you guys knew this, but your subconscious brain, which is the enigma, I want to say, I believe it's at the back of the head. Anyway, your subconscious brain, which is like your caveman brain, is designed to keep you safe. That's literally what it's there to do. It's like whenever something is like big or daunting, your brain goes, "Whoa, that's not safe. Stick to what you know." That's why, shout out to anyone who has ADHD. I believe this is the way I choose to view it. You've got an advantage in business. The reason I think you've got an advantage in business of ADHD, which no one seems to recognize, is because you're more likely to take risks. Because the irony is, that part of your brain is smaller. So you don't go into safety so much. You're more likely to go, ah, fuck it, because you lack dopamine in your brain. Because I lack dopamine in my brain, I'm more likely to try things out. That does also mean that on the negative side to that is that I'm more susceptible to addiction, which is something I need to look out for. Like when I was younger, I used to be fucking addicted to gambling. Don't know if you guys knew that, but I was for a couple of years. I used to bet on Swedish women's under 21s football. Don't ask me what the fuck that was all about. It was just because it was on. But basically, you need to like understand what your brain is trying to do and almost imagine that you and your brain are two separate entities. Because there's always like this internal voice of things that you're used to, and then the unknown in the future. That's why for a lot of people, starting a new business, starting a new career, starting a new relationship, moving to a new place are all extremely triggering because there's a part of your body that's like fighting against doing that. 'Cause it's like, fuck, I'm not used to change. I don't want change. I'm used to this thing. That's why people who are stuck in an addiction could be anything. Some of your clients might be addicted to cereal. I don't know. But my point is, like, you have to be willing to understand that that's just your brain trying to keep you safe. But actually, you're going to be safe either way. It's just reminding yourself of that.
Yeah, I think it's the people pleasing side of things as well, of thinking like, oh, Gary, Ross, Yvette, like the older population, which are not really my niche, but they are like the ones that are going to are bringing the biggest chunk of like the financial side of things, but also that I know for a fact they're not going to become online clients. And I know for a fact that if I'm not there, they're not going to be going in. And whenever I see them and they're like, oh my God, my life's changed so much because of how much I'm coming to the gym and I am literally carrying all this weight of taking them there and taking them through the reps, but also coming home and thinking, that's not my niche. That's not what I want to be doing. That's not bringing me any benefits, even though it's bringing them a lot of benefits. And then just thinking like, carrying that guilt of like, if I leave the gym floor, then what if they stop training? And what if they like, and then their health declines and whatnot.
Mm. You know what? That's an interesting topic. Have you ever heard of like a saying or a term called the separation of tasks? Okay, so the separation of tasks is understanding, and coaches are notoriously bad at this, is understanding what somebody's task is, right? So, good example of that would be your task as a coach is to deliver check-in feedback, is to build a program, is to hold your clients accountable and to touch base with them. Their task is to go to the gym, is to follow the nutritional guidance, to actually complete their check-in form and to send you anything that's applicable. Now, what's happening there is you're stepping into their task. And what I mean by that, stepping into their task, is thinking, oh, will they continue to go to the gym? Will they continue to train? Will they continue to do this, etc., etc.? And that's because you're a very empathetic person. However, what that will end up doing is it will burn you out because you're basically then living somebody's life for them. And I think as coaches, type of one in the chat if you ever feel like you're living your clients' lives for them. Like you feel like you have to drag them out of bed or drag them to the gym or fire them up every single day. Yeah? I think we've all been there. Um, you should never have to do that. And if you are having to do that, whether you recognize this or not, and this is going to sound quite sad for people, but it's the truth, you'll start to resent people if you feel like you're having to live your life for that person. And that is when you think, I don't like my business. I'm not sure if I'm enjoying my job. I don't feel as satisfied I used to do. But actually, if you look at who you're working with, like if you were to take, let's put it this way, right? If you were to take like your 5 favorite clients, that's not to say that like we don't like our clients, but let's say you take your 5 favorite clients, like what personality traits do they have? What is it about that client that you really enjoy working with? You know, are they a positive person? Are they an energetic person? Are they an honest person? Are they a hardworking person? Like, what is it about that person that really goes, you know what, this client's going to get great result. I love working with them and I'd love to work with more people just like them. And then the clients who are less so that, like, why is that the case? You know, are they your niche? Now, I have said before, we should be aiming to turn clients into our niche, but there's only so much that we can do with that. A part of their task is to do the work that you've laid out for them. I've been proven wrong by many clients. One of them, her name was Pauline. She still, engages with my content even to today. She joined on board with Team Aleph when I was Team Aleph in 2020, and she was still a client in 2024. And when she joined on board, she'd never tried to diet before. She'd never tried to lift weights or do anything like that before. She'd never run before. She had zero concept of anything. Like when I programmed her thing, we jumped on the call because she didn't know what a dumbbell curl was. She'd never seen that. She just no concept of anything. And now she does those like TikTok montage videos of her like doing her bodybuilding training. She fucking loves it. Because she was able to like really buy into the process. But ultimately, mate, I had someone ask me this yesterday, can we start doing the calls at 7 o'clock at night? I'm really sorry, but I can't. Because if I do that, then that has a knock-on effect to my relationship. It has a knock-on effect to my family. If I did that in Dubai, that would be 11 o'clock at night for me. I'm sorry, but I can't. And sometimes you have to let people down for that. So yeah, like no matter what you do, you're gonna end up upsetting somebody. But the important thing is like, sounds harsh, but that's their task. Their task is their response to you as the coach, a decision that you make. Cool. Well, I need to plug my laptop in. Does anyone else have any feedback from jumping all in? Oh, okay. Yeah, that sounds good actually. I think we all people please. I think all coaches do to a degree people please. It's literally like within our DNA to do so. But one thing I've certainly found myself is my overall quality of life has drastically improved now that I just do not do that so much. And I'm going to say this and it might shock some of you guys, but I would 100% categorically say from January to now that we've lost some clients because I wasn't willing to people please. And what I mean by that is, let's say, for example, so when I went on holiday to Turkey with my brother for his 30th birthday, that was an important trip for me. And I said, I'm going to on holiday. And unfortunately had someone mess me a few times. And when I got back and said, my brother's 30th, it's a really important trip for me. They kind of said, well, it's not good enough. And I just said, okay, we'll leave then. I don't want to work with you. That is as simple as that. And they got really upset and really shitty about it. And I said, I'm sorry, but I don't care. I do not want to help you. I really don't. And I know that sounds upsetting and a bit like, oh shit, I wasn't expecting that. But that's their task, They had everything they needed to do. And I think that being okay with being that way with a client, don't get me wrong, even saying it now makes you feel anxious because I hate having those kind of conversations. But sometimes it has to happen, cheers for linking that in here, mate. I appreciate that. But yeah, cool. Right, guys, I have a call at 10 a.m. So I've got a little bit of time to answer any questions you may have.
On that, sorry, George,
Oh, yeah?
with like setting your boundaries and stuff. So last night I had a late sales call, and she basically texted me being like, look, I'm going to be late, can we move it? And I'm at the moment trying really hard to not be on my phone until like 10 o'clock at night. So I obviously said, like, I'm really sorry, I can't, can we rearrange? And then she's like disappeared off the face of the earth. On the one hand, I'm proud of myself for like sticking to my boundaries of like, no, this is my cut-off time. But then on the other hand, I'm obviously now stressing that I've lost the opportunity of the sales call. What would you have done in that situation?
Great question. We had this exact thing happen last week, exactly what you just said. So me and Alice had a chat about this, and here's the advice that she gave me, because I did what you said. I said, I'm really sorry that I can't make that. Can we rearrange? And Alice me and Alice were kind of talking about it, because she then ghosted afterwards. And she said what I would have done in that case is say, I'm really sorry, but I can't commit to that. And then within the same message, say, tomorrow I have this slot or this slot. Which one works best? That's all that you can do. Again, it's the separation of tasks. Their task is that, they've asked for a thing. Your task, okay, can I do that? No, I can't commit to that, but I can do this. You've at least then given them the option. I do think that, as sad as it is to admit, sometimes when you've got somebody who is trying to book in a call and, when they've asked for a favor and you're not able to do it for them, if that's then enough for them to not become a client, I would almost be thinking to myself, okay, well, if that's the case, what kind of client would that person have become?
Yeah.
As hard as that is to hear, because in my instance, I think someone asked to move a call when a webinar was on, and I said, oh, I can't. I'm going to be jumping on a call with you guys. Like I just can't do it, but I can do here and here and here. And then we just got ghosted, circled up again, got ghosted, and I thought, you know what, it's probably not worth it. It's probably not worth it at that point. So, but yeah, in the future, the SOP, so the standard operating procedure for that, can I move here? I can't do that. Just offer 2 times the following day, and then just say something like, look, these are the 2 time slots I've got available tomorrow. If that doesn't work for you, I can certainly explore options within the next 48 hours. And then obviously then it's their job to get back to you and let you know.
Thank you.
That's right, mate.
George, can I add a little bit to the people pleasing thing?
Yeah, of course, man.
Because I learned something off you, actually. You're basically, I've got a group of about 10 clients at the minute, right? Checking late every week, this and that, right? And this is my own fault because I haven't set the boundaries. I've just been a people pleaser of like, if I give them a telling off, they're going to leave. I listened to your Loom video on Friday, and my partner actually listened to it as well. And she was like, you need to be more like that with like setting the boundaries of like, when you said I'm going to Dubai, so I'm this, that, that's how it's going to run next week. So one of them, I tried it, and I know it's like, and you have anxiety about these conversations. He's a good athlete. He's meant to be starting prep soon. He's missed 2 check-ins in a row. I've chased him up and he's read the message and ignored it. So I sent him a message. I was like, send me over your account details, bro. I'm going to refund you the money. You don't respect my time, my boundaries, this and that. I thought that'd be the end of it. Got back to me. He actually called me, apologized, this and that. This morning, he checked in at 7:30. He hasn't done that, the duration. So like, sometimes I think like I people please, I think they're going to leave, but like I then lose my boundaries and respect from clients. They just run the roost and tell me what they're going to do, and I'm there to pick up the pieces of check-ins at 4 PM.
Yeah, mate. Fucking props to you for doing that, because honestly, I think that what that shows is that the client is more important than the finances, because you could continue to take that person's money knowing that they're just not going to be checking in with you.
Yeah.
So actually, like I've said this to someone in the past. In fact, who have I said this to? I've said this to a few people. I really believe we teach people how to treat us. And the reason I say that, right, one thing I've recognized within myself in the last 2 years is, and I think this is only a positive thing, but since stepping into the mentoring world, I've had to set stronger boundaries, because I think when you're working with coaches, typically some of the problems or struggles that are being faced can often be a little bit like heavier than, say, like a fat loss client. So a good example of that may be, I've had a client, I've had someone message me in the past and say, oh, because of financials, this and that, I may have to like sell my car. And I'm like, shit, that's quite a serious message to receive, other than I ate a piece of cake and I shouldn't have eaten it. Do you know what I mean? So I think because of that, I've had to be more okay with having harder conversations, more okay with setting those strong boundaries, but also understanding the fact that, it's the same with anything, same with calories. If you give someone an inch, they will take a mile. So one thing that I would definitely suggest we all do is, when you set a boundary with a client, ensure that that's solidified to such a point that it's just like somebody brushing their teeth. So just like you said there, mate, so for me, I had 2 clients check in today that were supposed to check in yesterday. I just messaged them and said, look, I'm sorry, mate. You've had all day to check in. You've checked in a day late. I can't complete the check-in for you. It's that simple, you know, because I think that otherwise what you end up doing is you go, "Oh, this is really, really sad. And I hate the fact that I'm saying this, but I'm going to have to say it. If I look back over my business, every time I've done someone a favor, it's fucked me over. Literally every time. And it's so sad. It really is so sad, but it's just the case. And I think that I'm being a good person by doing someone a favor, but I just get disrespected for it. So I've had to tighten things up a little bit. And a mentor told me this before, and I disagree with it at the time, but now I do agree with it, is that sometimes you have to just, like with the SOPs, like the standard thing is you check in here, I respond here. You just have to stick to them, because the more flexible you are with them, the more people will take the mick. The only time I would ever adjust that is for like a genuine human thing. Like, I've just had my family taken really unwell. Okay, right, that's a genuine thing. If it's just, oh, sorry, I was tired, then sorry, mate, but I'm tired too. You know what I mean? So yeah, man, good job for that. And is he starting prep like literally this week then?
But he's meant to be starting prep Monday. I hadn't heard from him for 2 weeks. He had a family issue going on, but didn't communicate it. And then by me sort of putting my foot down, he called me and explained it all. I was like, right, like just in future, just let me know what's going on. But I just feel like it was like a weight lifted off my shoulders. I feel like there's more respect in that relationship now, which it feels good rather than someone just ruling my time.
Yeah, no, good man, good man. And like at the end of the day, like he now knows that now you've had that conversation, you've built a stronger relationship from doing that. So yeah, that's awesome, man. Love that. All right, guys, perfect. For anyone who wanted to check out the post, Rachel was very kindly dropped that into the Zoom chat. So before we close down the call, if you do want to check out that post, then it's in the chat. Also, guys, so for tomorrow, because I'm going to be flying, Matt's taking the call tomorrow. I need to double check exactly what the call's going to be on. I think it was going to be on him growing his business. For anyone who doesn't know this about Matt, when we started working together, I coached him on his physique, and I met him in person in London at another event like years ago. And I remember him saying to me, any tips on business would be great. I was like, all right, cool. And he said to me at the time, he's like, I can't lie to you. If I don't pick up a couple of clients this month, and this was when I started helping him, this was I think it was 2022. We've been working together for a while now. He said, if I don't pick up a couple of clients this month, I'm going to close down my business. And he's gone from that to 100K years. So the guy is a fucking animal. One thing I would say about Matt, in terms of if you're wondering like his strong suit, he's one of the best I've ever seen, like ever, including mentors, at time management. This guy's time management is ridiculous, like absolutely ridiculous. He's so good at managing his time. So if you're ever thinking like, who do I ask? Ask Matt. He's more structured than I am. He's like, last time I met him, I was like sat next to him poking him because I thought anyone who's into like Terminator, I was expecting to like rip off half his face and just be a robot. It's ridiculous, but he's great at it. So ask him questions on it. Sweet. All right, team. I have about 2 minutes to answer any last minute things if anyone does anything. Sweet. All right, team. Well, thank you all very much for jumping on today. Next week, we will give you an update of what the review call will be on. So like I say, we're thinking check-ins, we're thinking content, we're thinking, consult calls. If there are any other things you feel like need reviewing, ask and we'll see if we can work that out for you. Tomorrow's call will be with Matt. We'll make sure that we've changed the Zoom link ahead of time in the platform, because I know that last week you guys were struggling to get onto the call. So we'll make sure we change the link. And then, yeah, guys, next time you see me, I will no longer be in the UK. I'm going to be in Dubai. So yeah, it's been a pleasure coaching you from the UK. Nothing really changes, to be fair. But yeah, just look forward to speaking to you guys throughout the rest of the week.
Safe travel tomorrow, mate.
Cheers, mate. Appreciate that.
Thank you, George. Good luck.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate it. Cheers, guys. No worries, Tom. All good, bro. And yeah, have a sick rest of your day, guys. And I'll catch you all in a bit. Adios.